Happy Friday. My name is Dee Bonnie. I'm an ER doctor turned marriage coach, and I'm excited to come on with you before the weekend. I hope you've got wonderful plans and hope your weather's awesome and you get some really good time to connect with the people that you love. Hey, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever had drama in your life? Like maybe not your drama, but other people's drama. Have you ever had that spill over into your life and it gives you that sick feeling in your gut and it causes you to want to sever relationships completely, or it makes you never want to see your overpowering, parenting parent, right? Sometimes our parents don't let us grow up. You're sitting here and you're like 35 years old and you're still having issues with your mom. And so you get this drama in your life and you really don't know which way to turn. And maybe you've had that all the time and you don't even really notice it. You just know that something about your life does not feel awesome and you just kind of stay in a funk inside. And if you trace that back and look, you might find that you simply do not have a good fence line in your life. So what's a fence line? A fence line is a boundary. And so just like in my yard, if I have a fence, that fence is there to kind of demarcate my space, not your space, my space. And all I want is I want a nice boundary saying where my space, my yard ends and where yours begins. And here's the thing. When I have that nice, well demarcated line, right? Not just a difference in how the grass is cut, but literally like a fence. Now, if your junk, right? If your rotted tires and your broken down bike end up in my yard, now there's a fence line. It's clearly my yard and your junk is in my yard. So I need for you to remove your junk from my yard because you're not recognizing my fence. Guys, this is a boundary. And if you get this right, if you start implementing this, it will change every part of your life. It'll affect how you relate to your spouse, how you relate to your kids that are at home or your adult children or your adult parents. Let's hope they're adult parents, right? So it'll affect how you interact with colleagues and neighbors and friends, because once we start establishing boundaries, people start understanding what they can and can't bring to us. Let's come up with an example. Let's say that you have a friend and she is trying to tell you how to fix your marriage, but you didn't ask for that advice. And let's say that your friend, let's say that it's a lady, let's say women, that you have a friend who's telling you how your husband is worthless and he doesn't treat you right, and you are focusing on growing your marriage, right? So you're trying to see the good in him. You're focusing on the positive, on his strengths. You're coming to him with a heart of gratitude, and you have this friend that's in your ear. And so a boundary would be, hey, listen, I don't let anyone talk ill of my husband. You know that we're going through some issues and we're working on that. And I don't want to have you or someone else explaining to me how I should navigate that, especially in a way that's different than what my heart is trying to do, because I'm trying to do the right thing here. I'm trying to repair my marriage. And you're in my ear telling me how difficult he is and how worthless he is and how I should just leave him. And so a boundary is going to be saying, I don't tolerate that in my life, or maybe you set a boundary with your friends that you don't tolerate crude humor. You're not going to be a prude about it. You're just not going to participate in it. And so what happens when we set a boundary is now the other person has to decide if they're going to respect that boundary. And in general, let me warn you, most people, especially the narcissistic or borderline personality type people, hate boundaries. They hate it, but that does not mean that the boundary that you set was bad. So if you set a boundary, not just to be mean, well, if you keep talking to me that way, Mom, you're never going to see your grandkids again. Okay. Now you're just trying to be manipulative, right? But if you say, friend, when you start talking to me about my husband in a way that is not enhancing our relationship, I'm just going to get off the phone with you. Or I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to politely ask you to stop. And if you don't, right. And so we can set boundaries and even enforce them with love. But here's the thing about a boundary. A boundary is really a requirement. It's a policy that you establish around you. Because let's face it, I can't control what comes out of another person's face. She or he can say whatever they want, but the boundary is really around me of what I'm going to tolerate. And there's this principle in counseling: what you allow is what will continue. So if you have a life that's full of a lot of drama and junk, and you don't want the drama, now some of you like the drama, right? It's still not blessing you, but you thrive on that space of discontent and he said, she said, and we're in it. Don't be that way, because that's not how you get this abundant, awesome, amazing, content, peaceful life that's full of love. Okay? We have to set good boundaries. We have to enforce them with love, but we still have to enforce them. And so I have this discussion with parents of adult children who are struggling with addiction. So we really have to talk about having good boundaries around them so that we love them well, but we're not enabling them to continue on in their misbehavior that is hurting them, killing them, right? And so boundaries are something we all have to figure out. It's one of the best things that Megan and I did in our relationship, to understand that we are connected like this, but there is still a boundary between us. And that boundary, Henry Cloud says in his book, Boundaries in Marriage, boundary is where you define what your limits are, your treasures, the things that you value, the things that you like, the things that you don't like. Like, you do you. You figure out what you allow, right? And so if you're the type of person who says, you know, I don't want to be around a bunch of other people, a bunch of other guys that are talking ill of their spouse, then you remove yourself from that situation. The boundary is actually around you. That's a secret. I just gave you that for free. Hey, listen, I hope this helps you. Please click the share button. Not enough of you are doing that. Click the share button, because more people around you need to have better boundaries. Click the share button. Come to YouTube. Subscribe. D. Bonnie Ignite Your Marriage. Come to Spotify. Find the podcast, D. Bonnie Ignite Your Marriage. If you need anything, if you want interest, if you want to ask some questions about one-on-one coaching or the membership area that we're launching, shoot me an email, DEE@dbonnie.com. I would love to hear from you guys. I love you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.